G'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mad Dragons vodcast. I'm joined by Joe Hickory, Matt Hasler, and Benny O'Brien. What was that game? On fair income, that was a game from the Twilight Zone. It was sloppy and ugly from both teams. There were periods of dominance, quickly followed by periods of softness and fragility. We had Josh Maguire playing dummy half. We had a field goal attempt from a team leading by 8 points. We had another field goal attempt that hit a player's ankle. This game was weird and wacky and a huge roller coaster of emotions. Matty, how do you feel about the win? Are you happy? Were you frustrated with the performance? I mean, what's the overall feeling?
Man, it was a weird game on it. Started off pretty good, finished it pretty strong, but it was that 60 minutes in between where anything could have happened. I thought Paul Vaughan had an absolute blinder. He's run as hard and as straight as I've seen him in recent times.
Deserves a big, massive piss up at his house.
Absolutely. Look, I thought Benny Hunt, he was the little general that he's supposed to be. His kicking was absolutely fucking sensational. No, it was a fucking weird ass game. You know, a little bit of touch of the Inglis's, you know, going for a field goal where a field goal doesn't mean make a fucking rat's ass a difference. Which that's basically what led us back into the game. Was, you know, that was a stupid decision. I'm sure he regretted it the minute he fucking kicked it. Maybe he's just going, okay, there's a couple of minutes to go. We'll get the 1 point, we get the ball back, and we'll just wind the clock down. It was a game we should have won. We did win, but fuck me, we were lucky.
So Chad Townsend is now in the annals of history with the likes of Greg Inglis and Terry Lamb, of blokes that have taken field goals when they fucking shouldn't have. Terry Lamb, he was behind by 2 points. He actually got his, it went over, and celebrated like he just won his team the game. So, yeah, his was my favourite one. That was a fair while ago. But, Joe, pretty rare occasion. Hook actually named a team on Tuesday, and the same team that he named took the park. What were your thoughts on the team that Hook put on the field?
Yeah, I was happy with the selection, and I was glad that we got those players back. And I must say, Josh Maguire actually had a good game too. A couple of things you were asking Matty before what he thought of the game and what he thought of the two teams' performance. That kind of performance that they both played, I don't believe any of them deserve to be in the 8. Neither do we, you know.
Do you know the problem with that statement? That statement you just made, that neither of those teams deserve to be in the 8. There are 11 teams probably that don't deserve to be in the 8. So there's going to have to be teams in the 8 that don't deserve to be, because there are very good teams, and then everybody else is pretty fucking shit and a long way behind those very good teams. So we want to be, and we want to make the 8. Don't we?
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I don't get me wrong. I want to make the 8, but from that performance, I mean, and I'm glad they grinded out a win and scored 3 tries in 9 minutes, and the way they came from behind, and they did that against Canberra too. A gutsy win, and don't get me wrong. I'm not giving them a hard time, but you know that play that Dufty made, and there was nobody there to back him up, just to play a fucking ball. That's going to haunt me, man, for the rest of my life. You don't know idea how that made me feel.
The entire team was standing on the try line going, "Go, Dufty! Go! Go, you good thing!" Oh, he's been tackled. What the fuck do we do now?
What do we do? Yeah. Bird bolts and only has to fucking dive 10 metres to get on top of the ball and gets into the touchline to make matters worse. But anyway.
No, they just expected he was going to do it all himself.
Yeah, they're probably all fucking headed for Paul Vaughan's place for a piss-up.
I mean, honestly, I thought it was on Tuesday, I thought it was a team that lacked imagination. It was a team that looked like we were going to take the Warriors on through the middle and try and grind out a win. And as it turned out, that was exactly the way it played out. It wasn't a team that was ever going to blow the Warriors off the park. It was always going to come down.
Can I ask you a question, Donny? Can I ask you one question? Do
No.
you think that now Benny Hunt now is earning his money? I think Benny Hunt's earning his money now.
He's definitely starting to, Joe. Definitely starting to.
Yeah, 100%. He's earning his money, you know.
Mate, I've been Benny Hunt's biggest critic, and I thought his performance was absolutely sensational. I thought that the effort that he put into everything, like he wanted to win that game. He did everything he possibly could. I mean, he wore that red V. Well, it wasn't a red V. It was, but that fucking red V on a red jersey. Yeah, but he wore it with pride. Like he embodied what we want to see from Dragons players. It was 100% effort, 100% of the time. It was a beautiful performance from Ben Hunt.
Yeah, like the way he chased that kick, you know what I mean? My God. And the way the commentators said that if only every player on the Dragons team was like Ben Hunt, what a team we would have.
No, I think there was some other really good performances on the night against the Warriors, but Ben Hunt head and shoulders above everyone else for me. But yeah, I suppose there were a few contentious positions in terms of the team that was named. So let's start at fullback. Matt Duffy, not wanted at the club next year, but back from injury and he's an automatic selection. Benny, what did you make of Duffy's performance and the option from Hook to stick with him over the young blokes?
It's the same as Norman, mate. Like I think obviously they're not wanted next year, and for me, how much is their heart in it? There's a few things floating around social media saying, you know, that intensity wasn't there, that, you know, those 1% moments weren't there from either player, you know, Duffy or Norman. So it's hard, you know, but Hook's putting the best team that he thinks he can field on every week. And the young guys are getting the run, you know, Moans and Sullivans and those sort of guys, Sloan. So I don't know, is that on purpose, or is it, you know, are they not ready? He feels he's thrown them in the deep end too much with those sort of games? I don't know. You know, like it's hard, you know. And like I've said before, we look at it from our point of view as fans, not necessarily from a coach's point of view or a player management point of view. So, yeah, you know, like sort of like you said, but, you know, like the team that he picked was sort of grind up the middle, sort of. So Duffy, I don't know, maybe he was looking for that sort of spark running off, you know, off the second rows and that sort of stuff to pick up those easy meters. And, you know, maybe that's why everyone was standing back watching him take off by himself instead of backing him up. They were just expecting him to do that sort of stuff like he normally does. But I don't know, like I actually saw Duffy at the last game at Win, and I don't know, he looked really, really down, really dejected and depressed. Well, he wasn't really perky and happy, and so yeah, it must have been pretty rough for him to get the news that he wasn't wanted. So how much that affects his actually on-field performance, who knows? But
yeah,
like I said, Hook's got to field the best team that he thinks he can field each week, and if that's Duffy, it's Duffy. If it's a Moan, it's a Moan. If it's Sloan, it's Sloan. You know, like who are we to pick a team, you know?
I think a lot of people have been way too critical of Duffy's performance. I thought he was actually fantastic. I thought Matt Duffy had a really good game. It wasn't the explosive carve-up plays where he scores a try, but his involvement was higher than it has been for the whole year. He had more receipts of the ball than he's had all season. He ran for 260 metres, which has got to be pretty close to the most amount of metres that he's made all year. He set up a try. He was sniffing around the ruck. There was a couple of times where he went in behind the ruck, stood in tackles, had the arm free, offloaded a couple of times. And then there was a play where Roger Tuivasa-Sheck made a clean break. It was one-on-one with Duffy, and Duffy came up with a one-on-one tackle on Roger. And then the next play got to marker, didn't hold him down too long. The winger got out of dummy half. He chased him, made the tackle on him, held him up. He got an offload away. They then pushed the ball out to the other side of the field, put a kick through.
And he ran all the way over.
And Duffy was there to clean up the kick.
Yeah.
If this was a play that James Tedesco made, they would be showing replays of it for a month and nobody would stop talking about it. Like, it was a great piece of play and defensive play from Matt Duffy, a bloke that has been told that he's not wanted. And I thought he put in a huge effort. I thought he had a really good game. And I think some of the criticism he's received has been a little unfair.
Yeah, it was an odd style. It was an odd game, like we said before. It wasn't a flowing game. It wasn't a running game. It wasn't a backs game. You know, it was. They didn't have a lot of opportunities, you know, and when they did, they either dropped the ball or made mistakes, or, you know, they were jammed up in defence. So they didn't really have – the outside backs didn't have those opportunities. It was a really weird game, like we were saying. But, yeah, it wasn't a game that suited Dufty, but in saying that, he did a lot of work.
All right, I'll go back to you, Joe, just because you mentioned this bloke in the group chat. But Jack Bird, centre or second row?
When Lomax comes back?
Yeah.
I think it's the same position, to be honest. But I'd put him in the second row. We got Fui Mayano back as well, and I think he'd be better in the centre and Bird in the second row, because he played second row a couple of weeks ago, man. He was a machine. Either way, a second rower, a fringe back rower, is more or less like a centre's position anyway. So, you know, 2 of one of half a dozen of the other, or whatever they say it is. So same for me. What do you guys reckon?
I think you butchered that a little bit, but yeah, I prefer second row. I think our attacking shape is more dangerous with him at second row. I think defensively he's as good as anyone, so that I think he can handle that additional defensive workload. In attack, I don't think there's any higher workload than he would have at centre, so I don't think it puts any additional pressures on his body apart from the fact he has to make a couple more tackles. He's a player that's going to be hard to handle. No, it doesn't matter where you put him. You could put him anywhere on the field. So long as he's on the park, he's going to have an impact. He's a player. He's a winner. He's a bloke that stands up time and time again. But, yeah, my preference would be for him to be in the second row. Anybody hard on him staying in the centres? Matty?
If I could go down another path entirely, Birdie's played 5'8" before. Do you know, if Norman's having consistent shockers like he arguably has been recently, do you maybe stick Bird at 5'8"?
Hang on, fuck off. Arguably? Bullshit. I'm pulling you up there. It's not arguable. It's not arguable. He's been having shockers. He didn't show up until the 70th minute of that game.
I'm trying to be diplomatic here.
Oh, fuck that.
I'm trying to play devil's advocate here.
I see where you're coming from, and I actually don't mind him at 5'8". I just think we've got better options there. I'd prefer to see Junior Ramon at 5'8" or Adam Clune at 5'8" than Jack Bird.
Maybe it's worth a shot.
Well, I think Bird would be better than Norman. So, all right, Matty, we'll stick with you. Jared Beale on the wing. What were your thoughts on him getting picked on the wing?
No, bad idea. Absolutely bad idea. I think Pereira, as much shit as he does tend to cop, he does give us that sort of extra forward, coming off our own line. I don't think Beale offers that. I think he's better off in the centres. If I was Hook, I would absolutely not pick Beale on the wing. Centres, absolutely, if that's where we need to plug a hole. But on the wings, I think we've got a couple of better options there.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but in saying that, I thought Beale had a decent game, and that's probably my issue, is that he will always have a decent game. He's never going to have a great game, a standout game, a game where he's going to win us the game or score tries that he shouldn't. He's always going to be there and thereabouts.
He's going to be solid.
Yeah, so I thought he was solid in this game. I don't think the Warriors tested him at all. He had to make one tackle and he had one kick that he had to defuse. So he took one bomb. That was the only test that the Warriors threw at him at all. So he didn't have to do too much. But I was a big critic of Beale getting picked. I will eat a little bit of humble pie and say that he did a job that I didn't think he was capable of doing. So with Dufty and Ramsey as two of the back three, we need that other winger to set that platform that you're talking about. That Jordan Pereira would have been absolutely perfect to come in and set that platform for us. And I didn't think Beale was capable of doing that at all. But I thought he did really well. He ran for 200 metres. I mean, he set a pretty good platform. He did a really good job. He ran the ball 23 times. I can't see how he doesn't retain his spot on the wing based on that performance. I think he went well enough. And he probably went better than Ramsey, to be fair. I think Cody Ramsey is a bloke that his position is the one that should be under a bit more threat than Beale's after that for me. But it does beg the question, Benny, with Lomax back next game, who from our back five drops out?
Yeah, mate, that's a tough one. Yeah, I don't know. It'd have to be Beale, to be honest. As much as, like you said, he put in, I thought he had a really good performance on the wing. He didn't do much wrong. He was there when he needed to be. Big meters, safe under the one high ball that he got given. But I don't know. They're putting a lot of faith in Ramsey, that's for sure. So I can't see him losing his spot. Yeah, it'd have to be Beale. As much as I'm not liking it, but I think a lot, like you said earlier, it's safe, solid, and I think that's what Hook's going for with a lot of his selections. He's not going for the exciting, create something out of nothing players. He's going for the solid lineup. So yeah, I think it'd be Beale for Lomax, and I don't know. The wings are hard one.
Yeah, well,
I'm a big fan of Beale's, and I think unfortunately he will be the one who's culled. But let's see against Manly what they do with suspensions and fines and all this other crap after the big hoo-ha barbecue at Paul's place.
Well, we'll get into that in a minute, but yeah. I mean that performance that we put on against the Warriors. The Warriors are the lowest ranked team that we play on our run home. Everyone else we play from here on in is ranked higher than the Warriors are right now. So that type of performance, that's not going to trouble those top teams. So outside of that sort of back five, what changes do you make to this team to make it better?
All we have left is Zach. He's our only strike player who's due to come back.
Well, there's other players in the squad though that
could make an
weren't
impact.
used.
Are you talking about Sloan and you're talking about Sullivan and Armone? Well, they're going to get their crack against Manly, I reckon. So let's see. And I reckon I'm in a way, I'm not glad that this has happened, but because of this happening, you're going to see a lot of stars shining. You know what I mean? If they're going to drop half of these players or most of these players for this breach and all these sort of dramas, these young fellas are going to step in and watch them just rip Manly apart. Mark my words. Let's see what if I'm right in 2 weeks' time or not.
Put a bag of Cheetos on it.
Jats with peanut butter is on the menu tonight.
Oh,
nice.
Wow, fantastic.
Okay. Love it.
Another sponsor for the Mad Dragons podcast. Matty, before we get into sort of talking a bit more about the game against the Warriors, a few, I suppose, rumours of signings and potential signings for the Dragons going around. Jaden Sewer is apparently all but a done deal for the Dragons. Would you be happy with this signing, or are you disappointed we didn't go harder for Tavita Pangai Jr.?
With the sort of forwards that we've got at the moment that are lacking a bit of go forward for the most part, I think either of them would be a great addition. And to be honest, I think Pangai Jr. is a little bit of a liability in terms of the sort of penalties that he gives away. A bit of a Josh Maguire in that regard. So from what I've seen to him, I would love to see him running out in the red V. Be happy with either of them, to be perfectly honest with you. They've both got great running games. They don't mind passes. I'd be happy with either of them, but my preference would be Sewer at this stage.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think they're both similar types of players. They play that with a similar style. They've both got some offloading in their game, but the difference is probably about $500,000. I think Tavita Pangai Jr. is asking for a hell of a lot of money to come across. And Jaden Sewer is, I don't think he's as good as TPJ, but I don't think he's $500,000 better either. So, for the sort of money that we can save by getting in Sewer, who's a very good player. He was picked for Queensland for game 1. And he's basically been coached by Wayne Bennett his entire first grade career. He's found himself back in reserve grade over the last few weeks, but he played the first 14 rounds of this year. He's been a regular in first grade for the Bunnies for the last few years. And Bennett, one of the first things he did once he got to South was bring Jaden Sewer from Brisbane. So that says a lot about him. I think he's a pretty decent sort of pickup if we can get him. But Joe, another one that
that kind of blows up my next argument that it'd be good to see a bloke come in who's not from the bloody Broncos, but
yeah, well,
Broncos by way of South, so you can. I'll let that one go.
I don't think he had any association with Hook while he was at the Broncos, but I could be wrong. Maybe Hook was there for
which probably means we won't ever look at him.
Joe, another one that is doing the rounds at the moment is Will Hopewadi from the Bulldogs. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, look, the guy's he's a good player. I think for the right price, as a utility player, you can slot him in anywhere. But I don't know, man. Do we really need to go for 30-year-olds, But like I said, if it's for a good price, the guy's got another good 3 to 4 years ahead of him, you know what I mean? He's quite a fit, robust kind of player, and you can play him in many positions. Like I said, utility player. For the right price, yeah, it's a thumbs up for me, I think he's a talented player and well-disciplined, apart from getting 10 minutes in the bin last week, but this week rather. But other than that, no, he's a good player, and I reckon it would be a good complement to our 30, especially if we can get him in before the Manly game. That would be quite handy. He's a player that was in his own bubble, so yeah, hopefully. But yeah, look, for the right price, yeah, I think it's good.
This is absolute bullshit. I mean, you're completely screwing up my run sheet because I was all set for you disagreeing, going the other way there, Joe. I didn't think you'd be a fan of this at all. So,
look, for the right price. I don't want to give the guy $1 million, but for the right price, a couple of $100,000 or whatever, yeah, why not?
I should send you my run sheet, mate, because it says everything that you just said. Pretty much. It says, like, at the right price, he's a bloke that can play anywhere in the back 5. He's a guy that averages over 100 metres per game. He tackles with 90% efficiency. I think it's a boring signing. He's only 29. He's got plenty of time left. And we're actually a little bit skinny in terms of outside back depth. So if he's coming and he's going to be prepared to play a bit of reserve grade and nurture the young blokes through, the young blokes get first crack. And if they fuck up, then in comes Will Hopewadi. I think it's a bloody good signing. So, you've echoed everything that I was going to say there. But, yeah, screw you.
Well, Donnie, allow me to comment on that one. So think back to when we used to play against the Bulldogs with when they had Tim Laffey in their side, and he used to basically rip us apart more or less every time we played him. He came to us and didn't exactly set the world on fire. Well, what happens if we get Will Hopewadi and the same situation occurs?
I don't doubt that it will occur because Will Hopewadi's not the kind of guy that's going to come in and rip things apart. He's a guy that's going to come in, do a job. He's going to get his meters. He's going to get over the advantage line. He's going to get us on the front foot. He's going to do some boring things most fans don't notice. And I hope that he does most of that in reserve grade if he comes to the club, because I've got a lot of faith in our young blokes. I think they should get first crack, and Hopewadi should only be bought to fill our depth. And if those guys get injured or if those guys aren't performing for whatever reason, then we've got a guy like Hopewadi that can come in and fill a hole. So, yeah, I think that could go all right. Anyway, we might take a quick break here at the Mad Dragons vodcast. We'll come back and we will address the elephant in the room. We'll start the second half with what the hell are we going to do with Paul Vaughan and his party of bandits. See you on the other side. Well, g'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Mad Dragons vodcast. We've got just one more question before we get stuck right into this game against the Warriors, and it is the elephant in the room. Paul Vaughan having a party with a number of other Dragons players in attendance, breaching COVID protocols. Benny, how dumb is Paul Vaughan?
I'm sort of mates with Vaughnie, so I'm not going to say too much, but it's not the first time either.
No.
You know what I mean? I caught at the cafe having a sneaky little feed, you know, when this stuff all kicked off firstly. And what do? You know, like it's obviously they have these COVID protocols and all that sort of stuff within the club and within their bubble. And maybe it was just a lapse of judgment thinking, oh, well, the only people at my place are within my COVID bubble. But unfortunately, they broke the law, the statewide COVID restrictions. So
it is a bit confusing, isn't it? It's got to be confusing for front rowers in particular, I suppose. It's it's a little complex in that you can all be together day in, day out, training, sweating, tackling, contact. You can go out there and you can tackle 17 other strangers that are from a different club, and you can, you know, have all the same bodily fluid sharing, all that sort of bullshit. But you can't have one of your teammates over for a coffee.
Yeah, it's stupid. And that's the dumb thing with it is, where's the practicality with it? Like you said, you can run out on a football field with 26 blokes sweating and, you know, like there's been that many head injuries lately. You've got guys with blood pissing out their faces, packing into scrums, like, but you can't have a beer with your mates after a hard-fought win. You know what I mean? It's, to me, I don't like it, and I don't see any sense in it, but they broke the law, they broke the rules, and whatever is going to come from this is going to come from this. And it doesn't matter what we say here or what our opinions are. It doesn't really matter, unfortunately. I just hope that the media doesn't get a hold of this and blow it out into something fucking stupid, and we end up, you know, like people have said, losing points or that sort of stuff. It's just, I can just see it. Just the media is going to get hold of this and run with it, and it's really going to shoot us in the arse, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, the number one rule of the media is never let the truth get in the way of a good yarn.
Well, that's it, you know. But it's only that
too. Like, shit up and fucking run with it. I'm going to tell you right now.
Of course they're going to, but at the end of the day, they're also bound by the law. So they can only go as far as to the laws that were broken and whatever the equivalent punishments for those are going to be.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't an issue of the NRL. They didn't breach NRL COVID rules. They broke the state's COVID rules. So they should be dealt with under the state's COVID laws. Not that they're laws, because nothing's been passed by a Senate. It's all bullshit, but whatever.
And see, that's the thing. It's only a directive.
No, there's no legislation around it at all. Tell them to get...
Well, that's one option, mate. The players we know that were there at this stage, so Zach Lomax, Moose Maguire, Blocker Laurie, Matt Duffy, Jack Bird, Jared Beale, Daniel Alvaro, and Cade Ellis, as well as Corey Norman, whose wallet was there, but Corey Norman wasn't actually able to be found, so he's done a bit of a runner.
Must have thought it was the Dragons game. Went missing.
If you look...
Maybe that's why the neighbours called the cops. Corey Norman ended up in their backyard.
Maybe missed the target once again. Yeah.
That's it, eh? Sorry, mate, wrong house. Party's next door.
But, I mean, is this one as stupid as the Bulldogs players? The Bulldogs players were out in public, came into contact with a positive case. They weren't suspended at all. They got a monetary fine and that was it. They had to quarantine for 14 days, but that was not an NRL-imposed suspension. That's just you came in contact with you were a close contact of somebody that was positive. You have to quarantine for 14 days. So is there anything that you would think, Joe, that would see us have our players actually suspended from games by the NRL? Or will the NRL, for the first time in its life, be consistent, impose monetary fines and no impact on our club?
If you put it that way, where the Bulldogs players were out with associating with somebody who had COVID and they had to go and isolate for 14 days, and the Cowboys didn't do that, they were amongst themselves and having a quiet ale over a nice T-bone. Now, if you're putting it that way, I just think they'll probably just cop a fine then. And I think that will probably be sufficient. But I think the NRL, to show face and, they're going to come down hard on us, whether it's suspensions, whether it's fines. Thank God we've got a bye this week. I know if they say 2 weeks, it doesn't take in effect until the actual games start. But still, there's time to, to go into damage mode. And I don't think it's going to be anything too serious. I hope they're not going to try and make examples of us. The Bulldogs, I think, cases were worse than ours. And like the boys said, it was just it was just like a law thing, more so than the actual bubble itself. But what I'm excited about is if that's going to be the case, I'm looking forward to my boys stepping up, Sloan and Armel. I miss Armel. Yeah. Amon. I'm thinking of Amon and Junior Amon and Bud Sullivan. I mean, what an opportunity. And I really don't give a shit whether we make the semis or not. I'd like to make the semis for the record, but no matter what happens, I don't give a shit. I just want to see these boys have a crack and just watch them, set the world on fire. I can't wait. And if anything bad happens of this, I hope these boys get their crack and get an opportunity that I know that they'll take it with two hands and they'll just rip them apart. You wait and mark my words. Let's just see if I'm wrong or right in 2 weeks' time.
Well, looking at that list of names, if those players are all ruled out for the next game or the next two games, then there'll be no choice but to use those young blokes. So
that's my point. That's my point. They're going to have no choice. Hook's going to have no choice. He's going to have to play them all, and I just can't wait, man. If that's going to be the case, so I'm actually looking forward to it. But forwards is going to be the issue. They're all forwards that are at Paul's place, So that's your only issue.
Corey Norman and Matt Duffy were both there. So there's Junior Ramon and
Sloan.
And Tyrell Sloan.
Tyrell Sloan, correct. I can't wait, man.
So that's if they get ruled out, if they get suspended, and I don't think the NRL should suspend and not suspend them. I don't think the NRL should take that sort of action. But we've seen the NRL in the past have used our club to make a statement to other clubs. We saw it a few years ago with Tyson Frizzell. He brushed the shirt of a referee and got suspended. Dragons player was the only player that got suspended over that crackdown. We saw over Magic Round. We had two of our players suspended for 5 weeks. They love to use our club to make a statement to the rest of the competition. Is that going to happen again, Matty, or are we going to get what we deserve, and it's just going to be a monetary fines?
Donnie, I wouldn't rule out the possibility. As Magic Round proved, the NRL do not know the meaning of the word consistent. We got absolutely murdered by the NRL in Magic Round and the few rounds preceding and following it. So it would not surprise me if we do get made an example of. Having said that, if they do happen to be consistent, then given what happened with the Bulldogs players, it should be a fine for the players, if that.
Well, I hope you're right, mate. But all right, let's change tack. Let's go back into the footy. Let's talk about the New Zealand Warriors. Benny, the first half, against the Warriors, it was, again, there was some momentum swings and all that sort of stuff. Talk us through the first half, how you saw it, how you thought the first half unfolded.
First 10 minutes were awesome. I think we were on top. We were on the front foot. And then it all fell in a heap, but no one knows why. Like it just lost all momentum. But there wasn't any one particular situation or event that sort of caused the drop off. It's not like we had a player sent or players injured or anything like that. We just went to sleep. Not just us, but the Warriors did as well. It just turned into a shambles.
So, from my part, Vaughan and Laurie and the rest of the pack, I thought they were outstanding. And it wasn't the opening 10 minutes. I thought the opening half an hour, the Dragons were right on top. Our line speed was great. We were aggressive. We were up in their face. They weren't able to get out of their own end. They were under all sorts of pressure. But through all that dominance, we were only able to come up with one try. And then it was one error from Jack Bird, put us under pressure. The Warriors were then able to control the last 10 minutes of the half. They scored twice, and somehow we went to halftime behind. I suppose I'll throw it back to you, Benny, and say it was at about the half an hour mark that our bench came onto the field. Does our bench have something to answer for here?
Mate, I think it's everyone, to be honest. There just was no intensity. Like, Vaughan a blocker, made good meters up the middle and they did what they needed to do. And Benny Hunt played like a weapon. But for me, there was no desire, no spark, they didn't push the boundaries. They just sort of plodded along and it was very mediocre for me. Yeah, it was a grind, but it wasn't like a tough physical grind. It was just like they were just going through the motions. They were just doing the bare minimum they needed to do. They weren't pushing to get extra meters. They weren't pushing to get tries. They weren't, attacking with gutso, they weren't trying to score points. They weren't pressuring the Warriors at all. They were just going through the motions.
Yeah, and some pretty soft tries at the back end of that half as well. I mean, Corey Norman, second marker. It's under 13 stuff, isn't it? It's the sort of stuff that you're taught at a very young age. The second marker is responsible for the dummy half. And Wade Egan he went the same way as the first marker, and it opened up a big gap there for them to score. It was a really, really weak try. And then Daniel Alvaro. Joe, what happened with Daniel Alvaro? He played 10 minutes of this game. Did he get injured? Did something happen? I mean, it was a piss-poor effort on the inside. Did he get hooked or did he get hurt?
Well, I don't know, actually. But if anything, I think he just got hooked. Don't you agree? I mean, he just did nothing. Horrible missed tackle. And nothing with the ball, no spark, nothing. He just didn't. I don't know, man. To be honest, at the beginning of the year, I was quite excited about his signing. I thought he's a really good utility forward coming off the bench and even a starting forward, But he's really been a bit of a disappointment for me, Daniel Alvaro, unfortunately, And I don't like to bag players online and socials and stuff, but yeah, he hasn't really lived up to what I thought he was capable of, especially when he come from Parramatta. He was really, really good for Parramatta, But yeah, I think he got hooked.
I think the problem with that is, look, Alvaro was good for Parramatta under the previous rules. But I think the fact of the matter is, for the speed of the current game with the six again and all that kind of shit, I think Alvaro is just too slow for the current game.
Well, that's probably another reason why Trent Merrin retired as well. He was unable to keep up with the 6 to go rules. You know what I mean?
He actually said, "Look, the game's too quick for me now."
Yeah, but JDB can come in after 2.5 years off. He's fine.
Well, JDB's always been a weapon, man.
He struggled the first few weeks, though. He got beaten in both his first 2 games. He got beaten by players that were too quick for him, and he was slow laterally. He's worked on it. He's a fucking machine. He's an absolute weapon. Yeah. The fact that he's been able to go from no games to playing 80 minutes in the space of 4 weeks, go and get stuff. There is nobody that can do that. He is inhuman.
What's Alvaro's excuse then?
Alvaro, maybe, man. I think this is what you boys said earlier. These new rule changes have exposed fitness for forwards. You know, it's never going to be an issue for backs. It was always going to be an issue for the forwards and the benches. And it's like he's exposed maybe his fitness. He's a big fella, and his fitness levels and speed and things like that isn't to where they want the modern day forward to be. And I think that's where he's struggling. That's just my opinion, you know?
Yeah, I think my question there would be so Trent Merrin wasn't quick enough, couldn't keep up with it. Alvaro, not quick enough, can't keep up with it. Who have we got? Who have we got that can come in and take that spot? I don't know that Cade Ellis can fill that role. Can he?
Jackson Ford.
Jackson Ford.
We need a big man, though. We need a big man to fill that spot. We need a front rower to fill that spot.
Yeah, well, you got to wait next year. We got a weapon coming, man. Francis Mola is a machine.
What do we got this year, though? that's the big question. But Joe, most Dragons fans ride a roller coaster when they watch a Dragons game. Your roller coaster seems a bit steeper than most. You seem to go up and down real quick throughout a game, and so take us through the wild ride for you that was the second half.
Oh man, the second half. Honestly, I didn't think up until the 70th minute, I didn't think we deserved to win the game. We put 3 tries on in 9 minutes, and we won. Right? Yeah, it is a wild roller coaster ride. It's hard to be a loyal Dragons fan at times, but you love the club, so you stick with them no matter what. But at the end of the day, man, I don't know. It was hard, very, very hard. What really deflated me, and I know we won, but you know, at the end of extra time when we kicked the field goal and we won the game, I still felt like we lost because I just couldn't believe what I witnessed when Dufty made that break. I'm still haunted, man.
Yeah,
he made a 50-meter dart up the field, and there was no one within sight. No one within sight, man. And then you see Jack Bird bolting to dive onto that ball. In a modern game, first grade rugby league, you know, and this is why I was deflated. That's why I didn't really care whether we had lost or won the game, because I really felt like shit after we won the game in extra time. You'd think I'd be jumping out of my skin, but I really wasn't. You know, it just really upset me when I saw something like that happen. And I know you can't judge a team or a club or whatever over a minor thing. But that, to me, wasn't minor, you know. It's about dedication and reading the play, backing your teammate. Very basic under-7 stuff. Couldn't believe what I saw. Couldn't believe it.
No, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of things in this game that speak to the attitude. And the big word that's coming out a lot today, based on what's happened at Paul Vaughan's place, is culture. So there's some... there's some big question marks about what is going on a deeper level at our club. And, like you say, it might seem a pretty minor thing, Matt Dufty making a break and having no dummy half there. But when you add up all those little minor things, it starts to paint a pretty ugly picture as to what's going on. And
that were the rumours around Dufty not getting signed. That it wasn't a performance issue. It was something off-field. He's hard to get along with, attitude problems. Maybe that's sort of starting to come through on the field as well.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's the issue. I don't know whether it's a Dufty specific thing. I don't know. We're not in the inner sanctum. We can only speculate from out here, and it doesn't help that we get very, very limited communication from the club in general. There's not too much that's released to the public at all. So it is hard to sort of work out. But, I sort of looked at this second half, and I think the two halves, they kind of mirror each other. Like, we dominated the first half an hour of the first half. They dominated 10 minutes and led at half time. And the second half was exactly the opposite. They dominated for half an hour. Like that, second half was as bad as anything the Dragons fans have seen in 2021. But the Warriors weren't really able to put us to the sword. They only scored 1 try in that half an hour period where we were absolutely awful. We looked disinterested. We looked like we didn't want to be there. It was an absolute rabble. But I sort of looked at the scoreline with 10 minutes to go. We were behind by 12. I thought, well, I think we've got 2 tries in us. I think we've got the ability to score 2 tries and still come back and win this game in that last 10 minutes. You know, as it turned out, we needed 3 tries because Norman kept missing fucking conversions. But Dufty set up a try for Beale in the corner. Norman rushed the conversion. Why, Benny? Why did he rush that conversion? It was so important. He had to kick it to put us back within 6, and he rushed it. Like, what is wrong with this guy?
I don't know, mate. It's just, it's like we were saying before, it's under 12 stuff. You know what I mean? Like, for me, he just doesn't think about that sort of stuff. Same with the short dropouts that he was trying to do and that sort of stuff. It's just not the right moment to do those sort of things. And, yeah, like you said, take your time. Like, you got all the time in the world, really. And then he rushed it, missed it, put more pressure on us. And it's – for somebody who's not really a goal kicker, like, I don't know why he would rush it. Like, just take your time and put that little bit of extra effort into it. But I don't know, man. It's Corey Norman. What can I say?
Once he missed that goal, that was probably the only time I sort of thought, well, we don't have enough time to score 2 more. So that almost ended the game for us. Until Chad Townsend came along, God bless his cotton socks. He brought us back into the game with the dumbest field goal attempt since Greg Inglis. 8 points. They led by 8 points, and he attempted to kick a field goal that was horrendous. It didn't go close. Nobody was expecting it, so he wasn't under a great deal of pressure for that one. It went dead, gave us a 7-tackle set. What the was he thinking, Matty?
Donnie, the only thing I can think of that could possibly justify going for a field goal at that point in time was they must have thought that Norman had nailed that last conversion and that they were only bloody 6 in front. That's the only possible reason I can think of. I mean, if they looked at the fucking scoreboard, they would have seen they're ahead by 8, and unless you're Greg Inglis, they wouldn't even fucking think about that. So that's got to be the reason. They must have thought that Corey Norman had, produced an absolute fucking miracle and actually kicked a fucking conversion.
It's a weird one, and I totally agree. That can be the only reason. But with 7 tackle sets now, if you're leading by 6, I don't think you want to risk taking the field goal to go up by 7. Because if you miss, you give up 7 tackle set, and as we saw, we scored on the 7th tackle. It was the last tackle, the last play. We scored a try. Norman missed the conversion again. We then went down the other end. Again, the next set of 6. Ramsey scores in the corner. He's reeling them in. Does the old post-try celebration. Corey Norman with the kick from the sideline to win it. Joe, talk us through it.
It's the post, and 8 minutes later, he's the hero again. Simple.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of parallels.
He likes to the guy likes to do it tough. He doesn't want to win by 2. He likes to win by 1. He likes to work hard for his money.
He's $1 million a season.
He loves kicking field goals to win the game. That's kind of his thing.
Brother Normie, Clutch Normie, Brother Normie, what do they call it?
Yeah, he had a dozen chances to kick the field goal to win the game, and he stuffed that up too, though. Like, I think occasionally he gets lucky. You throw enough bloody hats in the ring, eventually someone's going to pick one out. But
everybody's missing a very valuable point. You know who won us the game? Tarek Sims' tackle on Chad Townsend. Tarek Sims won us that game. Chad Townsend was playing with one shoulder for 70 minutes. Tarek Sims won us the game.
Well, that first shot and the first kick from Townsend, he absolutely smashed him.
Smashed him. Fucking ate him for breakfast, swallowed him up and spat him out. And his shoulder was fucked for that 70 minutes. They kept him on the field with dump. They were defending with 12. They were defending with 12 players.
Benny, you had a very good question that you asked then, mate.
Yeah. Why wasn't Bird kicking? Like, who's making those decisions on field, whether Norman takes the conversions or Bird? Because I think Bird's averages are a lot better than Norman's.
Well, I think Bird's had
I think
two
Hunt's
kicks.
better than Norman in that regard.
Well, I think, yeah, well, like he is. He's Ben Hunt actually has a better goal kicking record than Corey Norman. But I think during this period where Zach Lomax has been out, I think Bird's had two kicks, both of them from the sideline, and he kicked both of them.
I thought, yeah.
I could be wrong. I'm sure there'll be somebody out there on the Mad Dragons page that'll correct me if I am. But yeah, I think Jack Bird has had a couple of kicks and he's nailed both of them. So
especially like
I think it's a really good question.
Like those kicks that Norman had the opportunity to get, they could have turned the game literally. You know, they could have put us in front or within a try.
Our first game against them, we lost with goals too, and Zach Lomax was kicking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this time around, we did it tough against them as well. Thank God, it was 4-3 this time, but kept us in the game.
That's 6 points from conversions. That makes such a huge difference. We could have won the game easily
with a lot less heart attacks than Dragons fans.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. We could have won that first game against them too if we kicked all those goals and went into extra time. You know. Yeah. Think about the games that we could have won this year. And like you rightly said that earlier, Donnie, as well, there was a lot of games we probably didn't deserve to win and we won. So it balances itself out at the end of the year.
Benny, I'll give you the golden point period. It was absolutely nuts. It looked like the Warriors flat out did not want to win. But it took a while. It took a while before we were actually able to take advantage of the chances that they kept giving us.
100%, mate. I was thinking we probably could have scored 2 or 3 tries in that time. You know, like we had all the field position, we had the player numbers, we had overlaps, we had, you know, we
had 3 tries disallowed. We had, like you said, Benny, we had around 3 tries where we crossed the line and they were disallowed. You know.
Yeah.
So we were really dominant.
When we don't really have a player that can, you know, kick a field goal first shot with no pressure, you know, why aren't we running the ball and scoring tries? You know, like I think we were all over them at that point. You know, the Warriors, they ran out of gas. We were definitely on top at that point. Why didn't we just run in a try?
Well, the big one that gets me, Matty, is the Ben Hunt field goal attempt. He was under so much pressure, he didn't get the ball above the Warriors player's ankle. Why did he, it was like second tackle or something too. Why did he take that kick when he's under that much pressure?
I think it just comes down to you're down that end of the game, you pull something out of your ass, you win the game. I think he just saw his opportunity, thought he could get it away, didn't happen. As it turned out, Corey to the rescue yet again. He's a bit of a field goal merchant, the old Corey.
You know what? Well, something we didn't talk about tonight, boys, was how soft their defensive line was. Our boys, you know, they scored tries without looking brilliant. The Warriors, none of it. They had no back line movement or anything. They just crashed over the line with their forwards. That's what I found disappointing. Yeah, that was the other thing that you were talking about before, Donnie. You know, when you said about my roller coaster. Apart from that bullshit thing that happened with Matt Duffy, but also the online defense was soft as. You know, they didn't score tries with any brilliance. We just made the scoreline, flattered them more than what it should have. They just crashed over the line.
You got 2 markers, both of them fucking go the same way.
There was also a point there where they gave away 2 or 3 ruck infringements. Like they're defending a 20 tackle set. It's just fucking dumb, you know what I mean? Hands on the ball and laying on top of players, giving away set restarts. Like, come on, you're defending your line. Just, I don't know, it's fucking stupid.
This is where the coach has got to earn his money and pull this up at training and talk to him about it in team meetings because this is bullshit. That's very unorganised in the defensive ruck area.
I think the defensive coach has got to take some responsibility for this.
At the end of the day, but it's up to Hook to fix it. You know, he's the coach overall. He's got to talk to his defensive coach and say, we're getting steamrolled by forwards. Their scoreline got flattered. We should have put 30 on them because they had nothing. Or they just would crash over the line, just fall over and score.
We've lost our last 5 against the New Zealand Warriors. And, you know, in all those 5 games that we've lost against them, they haven't done anything. You know, in any of the last year, they won the game with 100% completions and they scored bugger all points. Because
that's right. 40
all they did was complete their sets and go, well, they'll break down eventually, and we did. And the same thing happened in the first time we played them this year. They didn't do anything. They just counted on the fact that we would fold like a deck of cards, and we did. This time they came in with exactly the same game plan, hoping that we would fold like a deck of cards. And yeah, we let in a few tries that were soft as shit. But at the end of the day, we muscled up and we got a win that I don't know whether we deserved, but we got it.
We jagged a win.
Jagged it. Yeah, well said, Benny. Jagged it. That's right.
I was just saying, I don't think the Warriors deserved to win. I don't think they were the better side. And on the same note, I don't think that we were overly the better side. It was literally just we jagged it.
Righto, boys. Our next episode, and I'm hoping all of you can be there, but with the bye this week, we're not going to do one for next Monday. So we're going to look at Thursday week for a live episode to preview the game against Manly. So we'll chat about a heap of things that happened between now and then. We'll do a bit of a review of the whole State of Origin series after that one all wraps up. But I'll go to you now, Matty, for your last thoughts on this game and what you expect going forward.
The Warriors game, we got away with that. I'm not going to say we particularly deserved it because, to be brutally honest, we didn't. We got lucky. But going forward to the Manly game, that is going to be a very, very interesting game. Manly are coming into some serious form, assuming that the Origin boys back up. Dufty absolutely has to be there to try and match it with Turbo. He has been killing it since he came back from injury. Someone's got to shut him down. Dufty's the only one that I think can manage him pace-wise. Even Cherry Evans has found a bit more confidence. So we're going to have to be at our probably even more than what we were against Parramatta. If we're going to beat Manly, we need to get to another level even beyond that.
Yeah, I think we've got harder games than Manly coming up after this, so we're going to have to keep rising. We're going to have to keep rising. The challenge is going to keep being set, and we're going to have to keep rising. Benny, what are your last thoughts, mate?
Yeah, like we pretty much covered on the Warriors game. It wasn't anything exciting. We ground it out. We jagged a win. What else can you say? I think the off-field stuff is a little bit more pressing at the moment with Warney and his big party. So, how much sway that's going to have on the Manly game, who knows? So to speculate on it at the moment is probably a bit tough for me. But see what happens in the next few days, and hopefully Thursday we can maybe have a bit of a chat about it, and we might be in a better position to open up on the Manly game. Win's a win, we'll take it. But yeah, we're going to have to keep stepping up the next few weeks if we're any hope for the 8.
Well, Joe, our destiny is in our own hands right now. I'll throw to you now for your last thoughts. Do we hold on to a top 8 spot, or do we fold?
We can. I know it's going to sound desperate, but I looked at everybody else's run too. I'm talking about the Sharks, the Cowboys, and in particular the Cowboys and Sharks, and everyone else is hovering around the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th position, because I think that there'll be a battle from these 4. I don't think anybody who's on 12 points now they can make it mathematically, but I don't think can with the stock their players. So whether we can or can't make it, I know it's going to sound desperate what I'm about to say, but it's going to hinder on everyone else's results too. Yeah, we have to win a couple of games, and I'd like to win a game or 2 against these guys in the top 4 just to say, yep, we are a strong team and we can do it. But I don't know, man. I really don't know. I can't tell you, predict, yeah, we're going to make it, or no, I don't feel like we can. Mathematically, we can. We're there already, but it's going to really hinder on everybody else's results. I think we're going to be relying on other people's results is what I'm trying to say. In saying that, I'm looking forward to Thursday because we're going to know what the wash-up is with all these fines and curfews and possible suspensions about Vaughan's stag party. So we'll know more then. So Thursday, I'm really looking forward to talking about the Manly game, and I don't hope for any ill fortune to happen to anybody, but if Turbo can just pick up a little tweak in his ankle or something just for that one game, I'd say thank you. And Daly, maybe a suspension for a high shot for 1 week. Thank you again in advance. See you, boys. See you Thursday.
I honestly think Manly will rest those 2 for the game against us. That'll be 2 days after State of Origin. I think they'll rest both those 2 because they don't see us as a threat. They're not coming into that game desperately needing to win. But anyway, we're going to run out of time on this Zoom meeting, so I'll wrap it up. Party on, Dragons.